It really never fails when I'm in a buyer counseling session talking with new buyers. We get to the inspection section and I go through and explain how the inspections work, what the acceptable time frames for them are for the contract. And we get to a section where I ask them, is there anything at all, if it popped up in inspection, that would break a deal for you and cause you to run away from the property immediately? Because when we write the offer, we have to fill in those deal breaker type items and on a particular line. And it never fails. A lot of people have to pause and think. So I start throwing some things out there and get us brainstorming. But usually what people mention are structural issues. If the house has structural issues, a lot of times they're not going to be interested in proceeding with the deal. If there's extensive mold that's discovered, a lot of times that will break the deal for them as well, especially if they have asthma or other allergies. Septic issues, if the property's on septic, people don't want anything to do with septic issues at all. Who wants to be dealing with the inability to flush a toilet? So who can blame them? When wood-destroying insect damage of a significant nature pops up, that's usually a deal breaker for people too, because they don't want their house potentially falling down around them. And if the source of a terrible odor is identified to be something that's hard to correct, people are usually not up for that either. In fact, it's hard to get a house with horrible odors even under contract. Well, until this market anyway, it was almost impossible. So those are usually items that will break a deal for people. Minor or correctable items usually do not. So we're talking about electrical in the way of GFCIs, things like that, plumbing leaks. Those things are usually not deal breakers, but they will break a deal if there are a lot of issues and the sellers are just unwilling to fix anything. A real estate transaction should never be broken over cosmetic items that a buyer saw at the showing and decided to write an offer anyway. It used to be in the past that our contracts had a buyer satisfaction clause that said if the buyer's just unhappy with the inspection for any reason, they can be out. That's not the case anymore. So that mauve carpet that you see when you walk into that house from the 90s or early 2000s, that's not an acceptable reason to end a real estate transaction. You saw that when you walked in, you know. Even those bad smells that you smelled during the showing, unless, like I said, there is some reason uncovered for that terrible smell that tells you it's not going to go away as easily as you thought. Bad smells really aren't a reason to break that deal because you smelled them when you walked in. So what about those items that you notice and that you save for inspections so that you won't muddy the contract with them? Again, those kind of fall into a minor or correctable item that you can ask for in inspections and then throw that over the fence and see what the seller says. And at that point, if they're unwilling to correct a defective item that is correctable, then you'll have a decision to make at that time. So when it comes to those deal breakers, know up front what you can tolerate and what you can't. And that usually helps keep you on track as you're going through inspections. Because once you wrap your heart around that house, it's going to be hard to walk away from it. So just have all of those issues outlined up front, and that will usually keep you out of trouble. And again, as I said in an earlier video, I'm not a home inspector, but I do look for items of importance when we look at the house, because at the end of the day, if you're going to get under contract, put forth an earnest money deposit, do inspections, and pay for an appraisal, the goal is to definitely end up with a house at the end of all of that expense and time. If you have questions about this topic or any other, feel free to reach out to me via phone, email, or text. And if you're watching on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe. Thanks, bye.